what so proudly
There's one man that stands tall for conservative principles. There's one man that stands tall for biblical principles. There's one man that knows what conservative is. He doesn't wake up in the morning having to think about it. He doesn't have to decide what is. He knows what's right. You know him. I know him. And that's Dr. Steve Hotze. Let's give him a big hand.
So let me just warn you, folks, you know it, we're in a cultural war, and the liberals are using the federal judiciary as a weapon to destroy our Christian and our traditional values in our country. We had over 125 Texas state representatives, state senators, congressmen, U.S. senators, and statewide office holders sign up to sponsor this event. And to Pastor Steve Riggle.
I sent an email to Mayor Parker. She had just gone to Washington, D.C., and stood with 100 other mayors in the United States advocating for gay marriage. And so on a Saturday night, I sent it to a private email address, not thinking that it would get to the press. And basically, I said to her, as our mayor, since 72% of Harris County, which is not exactly conservative in politics, voted to amend the Texas state constitution defining marriage as between one man and one woman, then when you speak as our mayor, you can have your own private views, that's up to you. Whether I agree or disagree, you're entitled to your own views. But when you speak as our mayor, as the elected representative of the citizens of Houston, then you ought to speak for what they have overwhelmingly voted. As the definition of marriage, and I said if you cannot, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the next President of the United States.
God bless. God bless each and every one of you. What an incredible room of patriots. Steve, thank you for your passion. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you to each of you for being here to stand for marriage. From the dawn of time, marriage has been the foundation of our civilization. It's the basic building block, going back to the garden, where God said it was not good for man to be alone. And He made him a companion from his own rib, so that they might live together and raise children and raise them up in the Lord. You know, if you look at what impacts children, what impacts little boys and little girls, the most stable, the most productive, the healthiest, the strongest, the most uplifting foundation for a children is a traditional marriage between one man and one woman. You look here in the state of Texas, we've got a federal district judge who has ruled that the marriage laws of the state of Texas are unconstitutional. There is a concerted litigation strategy aimed at tearing down the marriage laws of every state of this union. And the strategy is not just emanating from the courtroom, the strategy is also emanating from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. State of Utah, a court struck down Utah's marriage laws. And the Supreme Court stepped in and stayed that decision, said this decision has no effect. And the president said, I don't care what the Supreme Court said. We're going to recognize marriages in Utah as a matter of federal law that are not legal under the laws of the state of Utah. We need to stand and defend marriage, and we need to defend the prerogative of the citizens of Texas to determine what marriage means in the state of Texas.
And he is going to be our next lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick.
If every pastor in every pulpit had his passion for the Word of Jesus Christ and the Word of the Bible, America would not have the problems we have today. I have an opponent in the November race for lieutenant governor, and she's a likable person. She's smart, but she is as wrong on the issues as Wendy Davis on every issue. And one of the issues that they're going to talk about in our race is the Republicans are anti-women. Dan Patrick is anti-woman. Well, first, you tell me who's anti-woman and who's pro-woman. You see, we and I will do everything we can to protect a man in a dress going into the ladies' room with our granddaughter, our daughter, our wife, and our mother. That's caring about women.
I'd like to invite up to the stage a wonderful Hispanic pastor from Houston, Rivers of Oils Church, Pastor Hernan Castaño. Pastor Castaño.
Hispanics will stand for the values that God's given us. Hispanics will stand for family. We will stand for the definition of marriage between a man and a woman. I have spoken to pastors, and I have seen in their hearts and in the words of their mouths that they want this to change, and they are willing to become part of this great army that God's raising up in Texas to change this nation and turn it around. And we will pray for it. We will join you because we believe that we cannot remain silent anymore, that we must raise up our voice, but it must not be the voice of a specific culture, but it must be the voice that speaks for the values of God and the values that made this nation the great nation where all nations want to come and be a part of. God bless America, and God bless Texas, and God may impart that blessing upon your lives. We will stand together in Jesus' name.
And Johnathan has been a stalwart on this movement. Johnathan, thank you.
Marriage matters most, and we know that. It's foundational, it's fundamental. It's a part of so much of what we are as a people, what we are as a nation, what we are as a state, what we are as a community. It's tied to so many things. We are so blessed that we have leaders in this state that are willing to take a stand. But you know, marriage is under attack like never before. There's no question. And they want you to give up. But you have said something about what you believe about marriage, and so have your elected officials numerous times. In 2003, the Defense of Marriage Act was passed by our legislature. In 2005, the marriage amendment passed 2/3 of the House and the Senate. After that, it went to the ballot, and the people of the great state of Texas went and voted in favor of it to a percentage of 76%. Voted in favor of marriage as between one man and one woman. I think in the state of Texas, we have made our case very clear about what we stand for, am I right? And when it comes to defending traditional values and the definition of marriage as one man and one woman in Texas, we're just getting warmed up.
Senator Ken Paxton, come forward, please.
Thank you. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. In 2003, I had the great opportunity of joining the first Republican House since Reconstruction. And one of the very first things we passed was DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, which basically said that Texas does not have to recognize same-sex marriages and civil unions from other states. And it was a great piece of legislation to pass. In 2005, I was honored to be a part of passing with a 2/3 majority in both House and Senate our constitutional amendment defining marriages between a man and a woman. And we've had that, and you guys passed that with 76%, as Johnathan just said. And I believe in this fight for marriage that the 10th Amendment is our key weapon. Our state should be able to control how we want to do marriage in this state. And the 10th Amendment is our key fighting tool in doing that. As your next Attorney General, I will do everything within my power and ability to defend Texas marriage laws. Thank you all very much.
When Battleground Texas decided to make this the battleground, they chose the wrong state. Come and take it. We're going after you. We're drawing a line in the sand. God bless you. Have a great evening. Thank you.
We hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And